Hi, I'm Shubhra. I'm a co-founder at Chumbak. Make happy is pretty much our vision statement, right? It's what we live by. The entire brand, from the design philosophy to how we approach our customers to how the stores are laid out or even the color palette that we choose. Everything is done keeping that ethos in mind. I am an Air Force kid. My dad was a fighter pilot in the Air Force. So I've pretty much changed 8 schools in my life. Every year or 2 years, we were in not even a city, an Air Force station. And it was nice because it's a very mixed crowd, and the kind of people you meet are very, very diverse. The other thing about growing up was that we stayed in these smaller Air Force stations which were back and beyond. Like literally, sometimes Vivek and I, when we talk and he talks about movies that he read or some of the books, I had no access to any of that, right? So a lot of the childhood was playing outside, exploring the outdoors, going around with my mother. A big part of it was being exposed to the crafts. In Bhuj, we would go to villages and actually see arts, crafts people, and the shawls, and I loved buying that stuff. So it was a lot of outdoors and getting deep into India. It was a lot of exploration. It was hard in some parts because every 2 years you were sort of moved away from your comfort zone and put into a new place and said, okay, right, now make new friends. But I think at some point it started becoming fun because you're meeting new people every time. You get to see new places, and once you've experienced that, then I think by nature you become, in some sense, an explorer. As a kid, we all sort of dream about what we want to do when we grow up. A big part of my dream was to do something on my own. At that point, I didn't know it meant entrepreneurship, but I knew that I wanted to, in some sense, have my own venture. And for me, the dream was to start something that was small, it was cozy. I wanted to be surrounded by things that were pretty, that were arty. Journey of Chumbak started from very early on, right? So from the time I was young, and the travel, the fact that I got to see so much of India, the fact that I got to see crafts being done by craftsmen at the ground root, and somewhere I got inspired by that. The fact that I did a course in BCom with travel and tourism, and felt the need to promote India as a tourist destination, the passion to travel, all of these things were a build-up to Chumbak. Idea for Chumbak started is when I was an ATAP, and we had just started traveling. Vivek and I had just gotten married, and we were beginning to travel internationally. And every time we'd travel, we'd bring back a fringe magnet. One day I was just sitting on a weekend and admiring my entire collection, and I realized that I had nothing on India. So I'm like, but why don't we have a fridge magnet from India? And so I said, okay, I must change this. And I went around looking for something, but I couldn't find anything. I mean, even the things that were available, I just felt like we could do so much better. As an Indian, I wouldn't be proud to put this on my fridge when there were such beautiful magnets from across the world. So I said, okay, so let me start doing this. And got the first couple of samples going, and I thought, this is it, I'm set, I can do this. So I walked up to my boss and I said, I want to start this, and I think I want to take a break and do something on my own. And he sort of started asking me a few questions and nudging me towards a business plan, right? Like, so how many magnets are you going to sell? Where are you going to sell them? Where are you going to source them? What is your margin going to be? And at that point, I kind of realized that I wasn't ready for this because I didn't have answers to a lot of his questions. And India wasn't ready for it because the airports weren't ready. We don't have museum shops where souvenirs can be sold. So the distribution channel wasn't ready as yet. When you sit down and you sit and talk to your parents and you say, okay, what are the things you want to do in life and what are absolute no's? So the things that came in an absolute no is I hate physics. So there is no way I'm going into engineering. I do not want to be a doctor. I do not want to, do anything that is extra analytical. And very early on, I knew that there was a very creative side to me, and that needed to be part of my life. Since those are the things I had very clearly outlined, this option, which combined BCom, a regular BCom degree with a vocation in travel and tourism, was offered by Mount Carmel's, and that's something that really excited me. The course that I did in Mount Carmel's, the BCom with travel and tourism, was a very interesting course. And what made it interesting is the professors we had, and a lot of conversation around tourism in India. When I passed out, I really wanted to do something in that field. I wanted to promote India as a tourist destination. That was my mission statement, almost like a life statement, and that's what I wanted to set out to do. But when I passed out and I started looking for opportunities, I couldn't find any. So right after college, I joined KPMG. I joined it because the part about not working for, in one office or in one company, but being exposed to many different businesses was quite exciting because you are working day and night. I mean, pretty much had a toothbrush in my bag because I didn't know when I was coming back home. So you build great friendships. It was also a great exposure because, someone that young interacting with very experienced people, very senior people, gives you huge exposure and also a great sense of confidence, right? So those are the things that really work. But after a couple of months of working there, I really started questioning what I wanted to do in life. And I realized that at the core of it, the work per se, the main work, wasn't something that would make me happy doing for the rest of my life. So the Gujarat earthquake had happened and there was an NGO in Bangalore. They were working with the craftspeople in Gujarat. A lot of them were displaced, a lot of them had lost their livelihood. So we were working with them saying, don't worry, for this year, we will support you. And at the end of it, we did an exhibition. We brought them over to Bangalore and really gave them the income generation means to go back to the crafts and not abandon it. So I would do that in the morning. So then in the afternoon, I would take my bike and go to Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan where I was doing a course in PR. Right after that, after the course, I would drive to Nirvana, which is a production house in Bangalore. That possibly was one of the most interesting years of my life because I really got to explore so many different things. But at the end of it, none of this was income generating in some sense. And my dad had given me a time frame and he said, great that you're taking this time off, but at the end of the day, you have to stand up on your own 2 feet. And the opportunity with NetApp came about at that point, and NetApp was starting their operations in India for the first time. So There was a country head, there was a sales manager, a pre-sales manager, and me. So I was pretty much, you know, doing everything else. And it was great because, again, it was a small setup. And that's really where I learned what it takes to start a business. The plan went on the back burner, and NetApp happened. Then I moved on to Nortel for 2.5 years. And then Samara, my daughter, was born. So I took a break from work. I was a full-time mom for a year. And that's when, you know, started getting a little bit restless. But I also knew that I wasn't ready to join a full-time job and join the corporate world. So Vivek and I had a talk, and you know, we realized that now, I mean then, would have been a great time to start something. And obviously I had not stopped talking about that, about Chumbak and the idea. And you know, somewhere I think there was this need that let me just get it out of my system, you know. I don't want to live with a what if. When I got into it, I really got into it. So every morning I'd wake up, you know, I'd have things to do. You know, I'd plan my day around Samara, but also, you know, I wanted to accomplish all of these things. And the satisfaction to tick off things that I had set out to. So it almost became like an obsession. At the beginning, it was just focus. Right? It was making a list of things, all of these, who, what, how, where, and you know, breaking them down into different steps and just cracking them one by one by one. So if you start thinking about everything at one go, it gets overwhelming. But the minute you break down something into smaller parts that you can accomplish, things start looking a lot more achievable. Overall, I mean, the encouragement was huge. What I was unsure about was how the outside world, the people I'd have to deal with in business, would react to the idea and to the products. So in that sense, I remember the first conversation I had was with the VAT officer who came over to our house, and I was registering the company as sole proprietorship. So he's like, "Madam, there are many you know, women who apply for this license, and most of the time, you know, it doesn't work out, and you know, it's so wasted effort from their side, from our side, and it's very disheartening to see that. So please, you know, you have to promise me, at least in year one, you'll do at least 2-3 lakhs. You know, then only it makes sense to put in this effort." So I looked at Vivek and I'm like, I think that should be pretty manageable. And in the first 6 months of Chumbak, we were break even. So, so I managed that. I had a challenge in understanding what it takes to run a business, because I was absolutely new to the retail field. So it was a lot of information gathering, a lot of knowledge gathering, a lot of you know, asking people who were doing this already what would be the best way to do. So he said, you know, India is ready for good-looking products, mainly gifts that one can take back that represent India. So we said, okay. So, you know, I use a phone case every day, I use a coaster, I use a coffee mug, I wear very boring looking boxer shorts. How do I make all of this interesting? How do I add design to my everyday? From morning to night, I would map everything I used, and I would say, how do I add design to this? You know, how, and by design, when I add design, I add fun, I add a smile. So the first 1.5 years when we were selling to other places, it was always a little bit of a struggle, because you know, there's limited money and you're trying to decide, what do I invest it in, right? Do I do 5 more magnets, or can I do 1 bobblehead? Can I do that 2 designs of phone cases that I really want to do, or shall I introduce cushion covers. So it was always a struggle between money and what I wanted to do. I was very clear that I didn't want to make products that sat on boutiques, on shelves, that were high priced. I wanted designs on everyday products that could be used by everybody, right? So, even the distribution channel that I first chose was that, right? So a lot of it was in the airports, it was in the Crossword, the Reliance Time Out, it was in the little design stores that were in every city where young people would go to find something different. So in the first year, we closed with 60 stores that we were selling into. The second year, we had about 110 stores. I think that was a time when we sort of really had a heart about where we wanted Chumbak to go. So we said either we can keep it small and like a design label, or we can truly make it a brand that would go places. That's when we first started going out and finding investors to invest into Chumbak. The idea at that point was simple. We wanted to do more of what we were doing. So we wanted money to put into distribution, we wanted to extend our product range, and we wanted to hire a professional team. So that's where the money went, and Bharti with Seed Fund that was our first funding. Once we had investors, we really could start thinking about the product line in a much more robust way, where you're actually thinking about the customer, you're thinking about the experience. At that point, slowly the vision for the company was taking shape. We said, it is a lifestyle brand. It is a brand that caters to a certain TG and who loves design, who loves something unique, who loves something different. And we don't want, it's not restricted to categories, but it's restricted to the person and what they love. So if our TG likes this, we will do it. So when we first got our investment, we started with pop-up stores across the country. And we said we want them in high traffic areas where, as customers go past, something catches their attention or catches their eye, and they come to the booth and they buy. So a lot of the product was also in that. So it was quite impulsive, it was high on design. Then slowly, as the pop-up stores were growing and we were getting a lot more new first-time customers coming in, we felt like somewhere the brand in their mind was quite high, but the product was where we were servicing them was slightly lower, right? So they were ready to spend more with us, but the kind of product we were giving them was a lot cheaper. So we said, how can we change this? And were we ready for a large format store? So we said, let's experiment with that. At that point, we had just closed Series B, and we said, this would be a great time to see how we can scale up our retail format. So we chose this store that we are sitting in right now. In 2012, October 2012, with a large format store here, which had accessories and home together. After a year of running this format, we realized that people, like, in our heads there were a lot of questions on, will people accept a higher price point? Will people accept a new category with, what kind of TG would invest in home? So there were a lot of questions like that, but our customers just took to it naturally. I think a lot of questions around product comes when we look at our customer. That's really the way, our philosophy in deciding what the company should do. So art, she's a young girl. Yes, she has, she's probably started working for the first time. But what she's most passionate about is her wardrobe, right? And what she wears. I mean, that's a big part of her life. It's a big part of her social life as well, because a lot of conversations are around, what you're wearing, where are you picking it up from, etc. So how do we get closer to her? In 2013, October of 2013, we launched our first range of apparel and fashion. So it had not only apparel, but it had jewelry, it had footwear, it had fashion bags and wallets, and it also had watches. And at that point we said we have now completed the entire story and we can truly call ourselves a lifestyle brand. But there was one piece missing, which we have now completed. So April of this year we launched our beauty. And at this point we have launched the personal care part of it. So we have moisturizers, soaps, a bit of scrubs and body butters. But let's see, I think this is just the beginning. Chumbak has built this reputation of being a great design company. People recognize us for a very distinct look and sensibility, and I'd love to take this international. A lot of us have great ideas. A lot of us feel very passionate about our ideas. Just give it a try, because the last thing you want to live with is a what if. What's the worst that can happen? It'll fail. It's still better than not doing it at all. I think a lot of it depends on why you want to be an entrepreneur, right? If you want to be an entrepreneur because you have this idea, a passion, by all means you should go out there and do it. Because it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of, questioning, a lot of times where you feel like, why did I even start on this journey? And you have to pick yourself up and do it all over again. But if you have a true passion, that passion will get you to get up in the morning and turn up again. So the objective or the driving factor why you want to be in entrepreneurship is the most important thing. A big part of entrepreneurship is it's a roller coaster. There are going to be huge highs and equally huge lows. How do you make sure you don't get carried away by the highs and the lows? How do you make sure that somewhere you can stay stable even when things are looking bad or things are looking super good, right? So, one of the things Vivek and I keep telling ourselves is we don't celebrate enough, but I feel like that's, that detachment or that idea to distance yourself from those things is what keeps you going, right? Because then the highs are not super high and the lows are not super low. You're focused on what you have to get done, and the milestone keeps changing, and you just again make your task list on what you need to do for the next milestone and you go after.